Chapter 119. I'll treat you to an egg. Greetings, Deacon Lee. With the appearance of the youth, the dispatch and pilotage disciples all stopped. All of them had looks of awe on their faces. Someone among them recognized the identity of the newcomer and immediately bowed to him. At the same time, from within the dispatch department, Zhao Zhoneng quickly walked out. His expression was slightly unnatural as he hurriedly bowed toward the air. When Xu Qing saw this scene, his eyes narrowed. He could sense the astonishing fluctuations from the person in the air. Compared to the diamond sex ancestor in his memories, Xu Qing felt that this person seemed to be stronger. While Xu Qing was observing, Deacon Li, who was in midair, spoke with a cold expression. On the elder's orders, the dispatch department and the pilotage department disciples who participated in this fight will have 3 months' salary cut off. As for the bonus to the pilotage department, it will be divided as usual. And Zhao Zhoneng, the elder has summoned you. Come with me. Deacon Li's gaze landed on Zhao Zhoneng. Although his expression didn't change, there was some disappointment in his heart. He knew that the reason for all of this was because the grandson of the elder had committed a foolish act. He was clearly a core disciple with an extremely high status, yet he caused such a large-scale incident just by taking up a post. Elder is such a wise person. How could he have such a foolish grandson? Deacon Li retracted his gaze and raised his hand to grab. After hearing his words, Zhao Zhoneng, whose face was pale with terror in his eyes, was grabbed by him and taken toward the distant 7th peak. After he left, the matter between the dispatch department and the pilotage department was immediately resolved. However, the blood and dead bodies that covered the ground made it clear that the conflict between the two sides was only temporarily suppressed. The viciousness in each other's eyes was very obvious. All right, the show is over. Let's go. That person just now was Elder Zhao's favorite, Li Diling, Deacon Li. Since he personally took Zhao Zhoneng away, Zhao Zhoneng is in for it. The captain took out an apple. After taking a bite, he stood up and walked away. Team 6 followed. Xu Qing glanced at Huang Yan, who was surrounded by the pilotage department's disciples and discussing something with each other. He then retracted his gaze and slowly walked away. At this moment, the sea breeze blew over, causing the long hair covering Xu Qing's forehead to flutter, revealing his slender eyes. It also revealed the charm of being able to clearly distinguish gratitude and grudges. Today's patrolling duty gradually finished with the setting sun and dusk. After Xu Qing finished his shift at dusk, he followed the merfolk youth stealthily. However, it was a pity that he still didn't find an opportunity, so he returned to his boat and started cultivating. His days at the 7 Blood Eyes were far more colorful than those at the scavenger campsite. However, Xu Qing's diligence in cultivation didn't change at all. He was very clear that this was his foundation. Moreover, his plan to head out to sea was about to reach a breakthrough soon. It's not difficult to make a breakthrough in cultivation, but I still can't afford the materials needed to upgrade my magic boat to level 7. Xu Qing mumbled. He then took out a wine flask from his leather pouch and took a sip. He didn't know when it started, but he had fallen in love with the taste of alcohol. As he drank, he wondered if he should make another trip to Penguin Road to earn money. However, after thinking about it, he felt that before he had the confidence to kill the old man, he couldn't act rashly. Xu Qing drank another mouthful of wine and found that the wine was finished. However, it was dark now, and he didn't feel like going out to buy alcohol. He simply placed the flask at the side and closed his eyes to meditate. Time flowed by, and very soon, the bright moon hung high up in the sky. The moonlight scattered onto the surface of the sea, refracting the seawater in the harbor like a mirror in the dark night. It emitted a mysterious sense of beauty. In the darkness, Xu Qing, who was sitting cross-legged and meditating, suddenly opened his eyes and looked outside the cabin. Not long later, the sound of footsteps rang out from the shore. After they gradually got closer to the magic boat, Xu Qing's eyes gleamed. At this moment, a familiar voice rang out from outside. "Is brother Xu Qing here?" Huang Yan from the pilotage department. Upon hearing this voice, the sharp light in Xu Qing's eyes dimmed. He then stood up and walked out of the cabin. Under the moonlight, he saw the little fatty standing on the shore, wearing a long gray robe that had folds on his stomach part. Upon seeing Xu Qing, a smile appeared on the little fatty's face. After the matter with the dispatch department was settled, he encountered something extremely joyous on his way back. He was excitedly drinking some alcohol and recalled the scene during the day when he was slightly tipsy. He made some inquiries and found out Xu Qing's name and birth before coming over to thank him. "Brother Xu Qing, thank you for your help today." Xu Qing looked at the little fatty and nodded. His expression was calm as he spoke. "There's no need to thank me. You gave me spirit condensation leaves in the medicine shop that day." "Huh?" Wang Yin started. After thinking about it, he seemed to recall something. He scratched his head and asked curiously, "Because I gave you some spirit condensation leaves that day, you helped me today?" "Not just some, but 7 stalks," Xu Qing said seriously. Huang Yan blinked and carefully sized up Xu Qing. After a while, he started laughing. Originally, he came here to express his gratitude and didn't plan on having much interaction with Xu Qing. At most, he would give him enough gifts. But now, he suddenly felt that this Xu Qing was a little interesting. He took out 2 palm-sized eggs from his leather pouch. The shells of these 2 eggs were bluish-white, and they shone with a crystalline glow under the moonlight. "Brother, you're a very interesting person. Let me treat you to some eggs." As he spoke, he threw one over. This egg was strange and actually passed through the magic boat's protective barrier. Xu Qing's eyes narrowed. With a wave of his hand, a large number of water droplets appeared, enveloping the egg densely and holding it in the air. After taking a closer look, he discovered that the egg was intact and didn't have the slightest damage. He looked at Huang Yan. "What is this? A little toe?" Huang Yan chuckled as he licked his right index finger. He then pressed it against the egg and the egg broke. His finger then circled the inside of the egg once. He placed the egg next to his mouth and took a sip, looking intoxicated. As the eggshell broke, a fragrance spread out. Even through the protective barrier, Xu Qing could faintly smell it. His cultivation base circulated on its own, as though it was attracted by it. A feeling that originated from his life instinct made him realize that this egg was extraordinary. After hesitating for a moment, he thought about it and used his finger to poke the egg. He discovered that the eggshell was extremely hard. In fact, even if he exerted some force, he still couldn't break it open at all. Xu Qing was surprised inwardly and his eyes gleamed. "You have to get saliva on it. This thing is very strange. If you don't get saliva on it and use too much force, it will directly explode." The little fatty burped. Xu Qing hesitated for a moment. He then put his finger in his mouth and used the finger to easily break a small hole in the egg. Immediately, an even richer fragrance spread out, causing the cultivation base in his body to suddenly circulate. In fact, even his flesh and blood seemed to emit a thirst for life at this moment. Xu Qing's breathing became slightly heavier. He took a deep sip of the egg content. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the egg before taking another deep sip. The little fatty sat at the side with anticipation. He looked at Xu Qing as though he was waiting for Xu Qing's evaluation. However, after waiting for a long time, Xu Qing still remained silent. How's the egg? Does it taste good?" Huang Yan couldn't help but ask. "Quite good." Xu Qing nodded. He felt a warm current flowing through his body, and his forehead was slightly covered in sweat. "Of course, I spent a lot of effort to get these eggs. My senior sister really loves it. I gave it to you to have a taste." Huang Yan had a smug look on his face as he glanced at Xu Qing. In his heart, he somewhat understood Xu Qing's personality. Hence, he took a big sip and didn't speak anymore. Xu Qing also didn't say anything and continued drinking silently. Time flowed by, and the two of them were very quiet. One was on the shore while the other was on the boat. There was a faint feeling of not disturbing each other. This feeling was very novel to Huang Yan, and his body and mind couldn't help but slowly relax. At this moment, the drunkenness silently blinded his eyes, causing his vision to gradually turn hazy. Under the moonlight, he swept his gaze across Xu Qing's peerlessly handsome face and couldn't help but comment. "Xu Qing, with your looks, it won't be beneficial for you when you pursue the person you like in the future. It will make the girl feel insecure. Only a person like me will make girls feel at ease." Xu Qing didn't say anything. He sat there and sucked on the eggs, not letting go of a single drop. Ignoring Xu Qing's silence, Huang Yan simply lay at the side with his hands behind his head, using the moonlight as a pillow. He looked at the bright moon in the sky and seemed to have thought of someone in his heart as he sighed. "Xu Qing, do you have someone you like?" By now, Xu Qing had a faint understanding of Huan Yan's way of speaking. The other party should have a very casual and friendly personality. He shook his head. Look, I knew it. With your looks, it's very difficult for you to woo a woman. Indifferent, let me tell you, I'm very happy today. It's not because the pilotage department was able to get back the bonus, but because I realized that my senior sister cares about me, so I drank a little more tonight. Do you know, Xu Qing, all these years, I've been constantly giving senior sister different things. Today, she finally has something she wants and even specially asked me to bring it to her as soon as possible. I'm especially touched. I realize that I like her even more now. Xu Qing hesitated for a moment. He didn't have anyone he liked, and he didn't know how people expressed when they like someone. However, he faintly felt that there was something wrong with the fatty's words. He swept a puzzled glance at the intoxicated Huan Yan. After confirming that the other party wasn't being sarcastic, he fell silent. In his mind, he recalled what the shopkeeper said about the other party bitterly pursuing a female disciple for 7 to 8 years. A long time later, Xu Qing felt that he should say something. He took a sip of the egg and spoke seriously. Congratulations. Hearing this, Huan Yan became even happier and patted his stomach. Xu Qing, I can tell that your words are sincere. You're different from others. I, Huan Yan, repay the kindness shown to me. You've helped me today, so I won't let it be in vain. Huan Yan rummaged through his body and took out a leather pouch, handing it to Xu Qing. There are a few magic boat materials here. Take them as a greeting gift. I am leaving now. See you later. Huan Yan got up but almost fell because of dizziness. As he walked out, he took out a jade slip and began to transmit his voice non-stop. Xu Qing wanted to speak but hesitated. Looking at the other party's silly smile as he transmitted his voice, he felt that it was best not to disturb him at this moment. Hence, after watching Huan Yan leave, Xu Qing walked toward the cabin. At this moment, the sea breeze blew over, caressing his body and passing through his black hair. It carried the scent of his body and drifted toward the Seven Blood Eyes main city under the night sky. As the wind blew past the buildings and the streets, it bore witness to the different kinds of prosperity in the night. After that, the lingering wind dissipated a little. Finally, on the sixth peak in the south of the city, it landed on the body of a person who was currently climbing the mountain. It lifted a few strands of long hair on his forehead, revealing an aged face. If the wind had a spirit and could bring this scene back to Xu Qing could recognize at a glance that this person was none other than the Diamond Sex Ancestor. At this moment, the Diamond Sex Ancestor was silently walking on the mountain steps. The wrinkles on his face seemed to have increased. It was as though every crease contained deep sorrow. After it was piled up, it made the Diamond Sex Ancestor look extremely bitter. He walked silently until he reached halfway up the sixth peak and stopped beside a cave abode. The stone door of the cave abode was arched and closed. There was green grass surrounding it, and above the door, there were 2 words written in flamboyant calligraphy: Leisure Doorway. From the name, it could be guessed that the person who lived in this cave should be a calm and elegant person. Outside the cave, the Diamond Sex Ancestor took a deep breath and cupped his fists. Fellow Taoist Leisure Cloud, an old friend has come to visit. Can we meet?